Hi everyone, I thought I'd go over some things that I've noticed over the last couple of weeks to help prepare you for this week's assignments. First off, you have a works cited assignment this week, and the history department uses the Chicago Manual of Style, CMS, or Turabian, which Turabian is just an abbreviated version of the Chicago Manual of Style. It's a poor definition, but it works for right now. You'll be expected in your major classes to turn in all of your papers in CMS. A lot of you might already be familiar with CMS. That's kind of the experience that I've had in my face-to-face class, but for some of you, this will be your first time using CMS or Turabian. It's very important that you learn how. So this is an exercise generated to get you to practice using CMS and to get you to be successful at using CMS. So first off, I want you to turn in a 750 word paper is what I'd like you to turn in. But I actually don't want the paper. I just want you to format this assignment according to CMS. So what I'm having you do is go to this website right here, Lorem Ipsum, and this is just fake words. You basically go down here, plug in 750, and it'll generate 750 words of this make-believe text. They actually use this text sometimes in newspapers and things like that when they're using placeholders. So this is basically just a placeholder. It's not meant to screw you up. It's meant to get you out of typing a full 750-page paper. So then you go, let's open a new document. Then you go and you just paste it into a Word document. What you're going to need now that you have the paper is you're going to need to format this according to CMS. And that's the whole point of this activity. So right now it is improperly formatted. What you do, there's a syllabus, what you do is you go to the works cited assignment. And I've left a resource down here for you. OWL is one of my favorite websites to go to for citing any type of style, whatever you have to cite for whatever your class is. APA, MLA, Chicago, this is it. So it gives you a brief introduction on what CMS is. It talks about the difference between notes and bibliography. Introduction to note, introduction to bibliography, and so forth. So if you've never used CMS, take the time to read this. It's really, really helpful. And then it goes into general format. And you click it so it opens. And then it looks at general format. It's going to tell you the margins. It's going to tell you the font size. I prefer 12. I also prefer Times New Roman. It's going to tell you about block quotes. It's going to tell you about everything that you need. It's going to show you how to format the title page. It gives you a sample. This is the sample that I would recommend you using and formatting your paper accordingly. You will need a title page for this assignment and the main body and whatever. The Lorem Ipsum text that you've created is just make-believe. So this paper can be, just close this. This paper can be on anything, any subject that you want. I don't care what it is. The whole point is that you're formatting the assignment according to CMS. Okay, so you've gotten your 750 words of text and you've gone and you've formatted it. The next thing that we need to do is your bibliography. And note, they should be real entries that can be verified. I don't care where you go to get these things. It can be on any topic as long as it's a scholarly journal. It's a monograph, it's a political speech, it's a so forth, and you're citing it in CMS or Turabian. So what you're going to do is you're going to find a scholarly journal on the topic of a scholarly journal, any article on a scholarly journal. Then you're going to find a monograph, which is a book written by an author and a historical subject. And in this case, I'm giving you the specific topic of 1950s to 1960s music. This will help you with Project 3, hint, hint. A primary source from the library, any primary source from the library, an essay and an edited collection, a political speech, a YouTube video, and a song. So those are all the things that you need to create on your works cited, and I'm going to be checking to make sure you have your periods and your spaces and you followed it all along according to CMS. So basically, again, the Lorem Ipsum isn't to confuse you, it's just to give you an easy 750 words. I'm really looking to make sure that you have a title page, you have your spacing right, you have your headers, your footers, your whatever you need, the bibliography page, all arranged according to CMS. Okay, so that's CMS. The other thing I noticed this week, oops, I have too many things open on my thing. Where is my History 99 manual? Okay, here's my History 99 manual. Okay, so you have your sources for assignment number 1, project number 1, which is coming up to its due date. You've read source 1, you've read source 2, 3, 4, all the way to Frederick Douglass. We scroll down and we look at the how and the why chart. Now, a lot of us got confused on this. What I was asking you to do is to find specific evidence from your primary source for project number 1 that would fit the how and the why. So specific evidence, let's go back to page 49. This is the sample. Okay, so for specific evidence in a hog killing time might be, you can use the story of Lay Down My Burden. The master asks, what's the illness with him? Meltitis, or however you want to say it. They tells him, and they act like they don't want to touch the hogs. Master says, dress them anyways, for there ain't no meat in the place. He says, he says to keep all the meat for the slave families, but that's because he's afraid to eat it on himself. According to the hogs, got meltitis. So, the how in this, how did slaves trick their masters or put one over, would be this direct quote. Meltitis, they tells him, they act like they don't want to touch the hogs. Master says, dress them anyways. That quote would go in the how column. The why was they doing this? Because she would laugh, remembering how they fooled the old master so they got all them good meats. This would be the direct quote that you put in the why category. So you would go through all of the sources and find as many examples of how and why, specifically coming from the text, specifically quoted from the text, that answers the question of how slaves put one over on the master or use sly tricks. So that's very important to do. Once you've got your chart filled out, you have a whole bunch of different things on your how and why. What you need to do next is categorize them. Some of it could be survival. Some of it could be means of getting bare necessities like food, shelter, water. Some of it could be psychological aspects of slavery. You would want to classify as many of the things, as many pieces of evidence into one category as possible. So therefore you could use that category in your thesis. So if you did your how and why chart wrong, you might want to go back and do that. Then we got on to the thesis statement or thesis statements. And a lot of you guys had an argument. Fantastic. You made some sort of argument about why the slaves had to put one over on the master or why they used sly trickery and how they did it. Remember, your thesis wants to address both why and how. But part of the thing that we want to do is blueprint it. And that means we want to give a thesis to our reader that's going to tell us what's coming up in our argument and how we're going to break our argument down. So for a lot of you this week when you did your thesis statement, I said please blueprint or please make sure you address both how and why. So you go back to that how and why chart and you say, okay, I want to say something in my thesis statement. I want to address the answer to this historical question about how did slaves use sly trickery to put one over the master. I want to say something about the fact that it was a psychological means for them to be successful in slavery. I also want to say something how it was a means of getting the necessities to survive. So I could say in a statement, slaves used sly tricks to put one over on the master as a matter of necessity for survival and as a psychological component to surviving slavery. There would be my blueprint. I would then create a minor thesis from psychological thing to do to make it through slavery. My other minor thesis statement would be survival of having the survival aspect, the good of the necessities. So you are going to want to make sure that you have a thesis that is blueprinted. And it talks about blueprinting and inferior, superior concepts in your reader. So make sure you're reading these to help you along. So break down your thesis statement, make sure you get a good blueprint, make sure you're addressing both how and why. A lot of you guys also went into specifics in your thesis statements, like you were telling me hog killing time and so forth, and you want to save the evidence for the body paragraphs. You want to give the argument, the overall point that you're trying to make in your thesis. So it's a really fine line to walk. You don't want to be too specific, but you do want to state the argument with the evidence that you have. So this is about 10 minutes. If you're confused, please come see me on campus. I have office hours on Wednesday, and I'm basically there all day on Wednesday. So if you need to sneak by at a time that is not my office hour from 1:30 to 2:30, just shoot me an email or a text, and we can arrange a time then. I've also given you feedback on all of your assignments, so you should be good. The graphic organizer, a lot of you, I left feedback on that, so make sure that you're checking the feedback and asking me if you have any questions. Because this week you're going to start working on the bones essay. And the bones essay is what you turn in for your project. And if you don't have the steps before right, odds are you're not going to get your bones essay right. So make sure you're following along and make sure you're asking me if you have questions. Thanks a lot.